Welcome to Charleston, and yes, it really is that close. It's a very walkable town. Unlike Boston, there's nothing in the harbour. Fleet Landing is the only place on the water to get refreshment. Once you walk across the bridge, you're at the Customs Building, and behind the Customs Building is the main street, Market Street, which runs all the way through the town. As you step off the ship, they'll give you a map, and that is the easiest way to see this town, walking around it. Market Street is the main street in Charleston, and it's quite long, so it'll keep you busy for a long while. Let's explore the rest of Charleston. A great way to see Charleston is on a carriage tour. What do you see on your tours?
So the way we work here in Charleston is that we've got 98 historic blocks here in the historic district of Charleston. So it's impossible to see all of Charleston in just 1 hour. So what the city does is they break us apart into 5 zones. But you will always be in the historic district, so some of the things you'll see, we've got the Old City Jail, you'll see Rainbow Row sometimes. You can see a lot of the historic homes down there, you see a lot of the house museums, and some routes go to the Battery as well.
The carriage ride costs $26 for an adult and $16 for a child, or you can book them on Doris Visits. I feel like I'm in Abbey Road. At the end of Market Street, they're taking the boards down that have been up protecting the windows from the storm. Look at these beautiful old gas lights outside Planters Inn. Next to the Bank of America is the theatre, 34 West Theatre. Almost directly opposite 34 West Theatre is a visitor information centre. The guidebook, Charleston Ware, is a lot better than the map they give you outside the ship, which seems to be just a catalogue of churches, and that's why Charleston's named the Holy City. They've got more churches than Rome. This house was built in 1807. This feels exactly like what you'd expect a South American house to look like, with a big veranda and a swinging chair. We're in Marion Square, and this is a monument to J C Calhoun, who was a very important man in the South. He did not want the slaves to be free. You know we're a big fan of bikes. Well, the Charleston bike share is called Holy Spokes, and this stop is right across from the Charleston Museum. And Charleston does feel like somewhere that you could bike around safely. The Charleston Museum is called America's first museum. It was established in 1773 and is the oldest museum in America. Entry is $12 and it's open from 9 a.m. If you were looking for Joseph Manigault House, you'd think you were looking for something like that with the verandas, but no, it's this. It's a brick-built house. It's one of the first examples of federal architecture. It was built in 1803. Tours begin on the porch here about every half an hour. The house reflects the lifestyle of a very wealthy rice planting family that lived here, and the African-American slaves that lived here with them. Just next to the Charleston Museum in Ragg Square is the Second Presbyterian Church of Charleston, another absolutely beautiful building. A couple of things to put on your walking tour would be the old Exchange House, where slaves were sold, and the Slavery Museum, and they're both over that side. And remember, 40% of the slaves that came to America came into Charleston. We're walking the other way down Meeting Street now. We've passed Market Street. We're going to pass the Gibbs Museum of Art, and we're going to try and find the Slavery Museum. We're going down Broad Street now. This is City Hall. It was built in 1801 as the first bank of the United States. We're walking down Church Street and we're looking for Haywood Washington House. It's a Georgian-style double house. And here it is. It was owned by Thomas Haywood, one of South Carolina's signers of the American Declaration of Independence, and George Washington is said to have spent a week here. At the bottom of Broad Street is the old Exchange and Provost Dungeon. It still has the boards up from the storm, so don't think it's closed. During the Revolutionary War, the American prisoners were held prisoner in the Provost Dungeon. which now provides an eerie tour through history. Outside this building is where they had the slave auctions.
This is where they picked the men who would go to Philadelphia to sign the Declaration of Independence. And this is a copy of it, and feel free to sign it.
Okay.
And then in 1788, the Constitution was ratified in this room. And then in 1791, President Washington was here.
The Exchange building was built on top of the seawall. You would have filled it in like over here. Several deputy collectors working under the British customs officials. We confiscated the tea. We didn't dump it into the harbor. And we stored it right here in this very cellar that we're in right now. And kept it for about 3 years, as it turned out. And then sold the tea to raise money for the American Revolution. The Boston Tea Party gets all the glory.
Yeah.
To be sure, there were about 10 different tea parties that happened along the various colonies along the Atlantic seaboard. Seated there, that would be Thomas Hayward Jr., and his home is just 2 blocks away.
Yeah, we saw that.
Yep.
Yeah. Rainbow Row is the largest cluster of the oldest Georgian buildings in America, and it's right next door to the old Exchange and Provost Dungeon. Not far from Rainbow Row is the old Slave Mart Museum.
Charleston was a very active port. So,
As you can see, they're still clearing up from the hurricane, and there are sandbags in the doorways, and that's because we're in the lowlands and they're in great danger of flooding.